When I think of crime lords, I think of Tony Soprano. He is one of the most iconic characters in the gangster genre, standing shoulder to shoulder with legends like Vito Corleone and Tony Montana, at least when it comes to his role as an entertaining character. But I think that Tony's incredible on-screen presence can make it hard to see his behavior objectively. There is a massive difference between being an iconic character and being an effective boss. While Tony's complex, volatile personality made him one of the most fascinating characters in all of television, those same qualities affected his leadership of the DeMeo crime family. And in this video, we're stripping away the charisma to ask a more objective question. Was Tony Soprano actually good at his job?
You got no fucking idea what it's like to be number one. Every decision you make affects every facet of every other fucking thing. It's too much to deal with almost. And in the end, you're completely alone with it all.
Before we get started, let me give a quick shout out to the commenter who gave me the idea for this video. I do read all of the comments, so if you guys have a topic you'd like me to cover, definitely let me know in the comments below. As the benevolent leader of this channel, I take your feedback into consideration. Although, I'm not running a popularity contest here. Thanks again for all your continued support, and let's jump into the video.
It's like Sun Tzu says, a good commander is benevolent and unconcerned with fame.
What?
Sun Tzu, the Chinese Prince Machiavelli. Tony turned me on to.
Now, in order to analyze Tony Soprano as a boss, we need to analyze where he starts. Tony begins the series as a captain in the DeMeo crime family of New Jersey. His crew consists of Silvio Dante, Paulie Walnuts, Big Pussy Bompancero, and his nephew Christopher. And from everything we see of him in these early episodes, he's a very successful captain. Tony seems to be one of the wealthiest capos, having a bigger, nicer house than even the acting boss Jackie Aprile Sr. This is even more impressive when you consider that his crew is one of the smaller ones in the family compared to others like Larry Barisi. It speaks to Tony's abilities as a businessman. His wealth dwarfs even his uncle Junior, who, despite being in the mafia since Tony was a child, has only a modest income to show for all of it.
Didn't your uncle do that with you? You said his life is like a desert.
42, I'm already more successful than my uncle ever was. You see my house.
This business acumen and leadership ability is why Tony is encouraged to take control of the family. After Jackie dies, there is an open question of who will succeed him. Junior is the most senior captain and feels he is the rightful successor to the throne, but the other captains prefer Tony, seeing him as more modern than his old-fashioned uncle, and a better businessman than him as well. Whatever else we can say about Tony, he was selected for leadership by everyone around him.
Now face it, T. You and Junior are gonna have to duke it out. You gotta be boss.
Number one, I love the man. Number two, he's got New York behind him.
Not for anything, God bless your uncle. But he's living in the wrong century, and New York knows it.
After Junior's arrest, he technically retains the title for his dignity, but everyone knows that Tony is the real boss on the streets. And from here, we can start to judge his tenure as boss. Now, Tony does continue to have success in their business ventures. He starts a brokerage firm in order to pump and dump stocks, which Christopher describes as a license to steal. The family has incredibly lucrative construction deals like the Esplanade, and Tony even sets up a business to defraud the government of HUD money.
It's a different one now. I'm not sure what it is. All I know is fucking Ralphie's going around bragging about how much they're making.
All of these are great things, but where Tony really fails is when it comes to managing his employees. A pattern that we see emerge time and time again is Tony getting into a conflict with a subordinate. Take Richie Aprile. Sure, the conflict between the two is due in part to Richie's lack of respect for Tony as his junior. But another big reason why Richie goes after Tony is because Tony gave away the jacket that Richie gave to him as a gift.
Well, I think of that jacket I gave your brother, and he spit on it. I could slice an ear off his head.
Now, this may seem like a small comedic thing, but the way that Tony treats his employees emotionally is a real problem. The jacket genuinely meant something to Richie, and the fact that Tony couldn't even be bothered to pretend to respect it is one of the things that turns Richie against him. The same is true of Carlo Gervasi. After Vito is outed as being gay, Carlo is given control over his construction rackets. However, Carlo isn't as good a businessman as Vito is, and ends up making less money for Tony. Compounding this is Tony's stress over his gambling losses, and all of this eventually leads to Tony blowing up on Carlo.
He's a small-time hood, he gets shot. Maybe you should start sucking cock instead of watching TV Land, because Vito brought in 3 times what you do on construction. Yeah.
At the end of the series, Carlo turns informant and agrees to testify against Tony. The main reason for this is to protect his son Jason from drug charges. However, the fact that Tony screamed at him couldn't have helped either. Not only was it hurtful, it showed how out of control and weak Tony was in that moment. Tony himself admits that outbursts of anger are unbecoming of a true mafia leader.
See, we forget that in the old days, the ones that came over that started this thing, they didn't get mad. They just smiled and nodded and made sure you got it later.
Another great example of Tony's failings is how he treats Paulie. Now, of course, we know that Paulie can be an annoying guy. He talks too much, he's a germaphobe, and he can be incredibly childish and petty. Even in the early seasons, we can see that the things that Paulie does can get under Tony's skin, and he eventually starts taking those feelings out on Paulie himself.
I shot this guy. He's a friend of mine. Now, in real life, this guy does do some things that annoy me.
But Paulie is also one of the most loyal guys in Tony's crew, at least until Tony starts to ignore him. In the 4th season, Tony begins ignoring Paulie in favor of Ralph, who is a much better earner than he is. This causes resentment and drives Paulie straight into the hands of Johnny Sack, who manipulates Paulie's feelings in order to gain information on Tony.
You think I was carrying a load in my pants the way Tony sticks his nose up when I'm around? Nah, I'm not insensitive. I hurt too.
Despite all of Paulie's flaws, he was a loyal soldier to Tony, and had the potential to be a great asset for him. However, he needed to feel like he was close to Tony. That was a big part of his motivation, and if Tony was a better leader, he could have used those feelings to keep Paulie close. We saw with Johnny Sack how a little pat on the head was enough to turn Paulie into an informant. Tony could have easily done the same. However, he let his annoyance get the better of him, and ended up creating a rift where there could have been a bond.
He loves you, Tone. You're all he's got. You, the guys, and his image.
However, nowhere is Tony's failure as a leader clearer than in his relationship with Christopher. Throughout the series, Tony brings his nephew up and raises him to be his second in command of the family. Now, he does this not because he loves Christopher, but because he wants to use him to shield himself from incrimination. He's hoping that he can manipulate Christopher's feelings for him and keep him as a loyal puppet.
What I've been dealt is my nephew. He's gotten his act together, the kid. And over the last couple of months, I started the process of bonding him to me inseparably.
And while that might be a smart strategy, it never ends up happening. Tony ends up damaging his relationship with Christopher irrevocably. Not only does he put himself in a very suspicious position with Christopher's fiancée Adriana, something that Christopher never forgets, he's also just incredibly mean to Christopher as well. As something of an older brother figure, Tony likes to bully Christopher and put him down. And while again, this seems like the usual ball busting that all the guys do, we see that it truly hurts Christopher deep down.
Him and Tony B, breaking my balls, teasing me like when I was little. I mean, what kind of fucked up, undermining shit is that to tell someone who's got the disease?
By the end of the series, Tony and Christopher have completely drifted apart. Christopher has fallen out of Tony's good graces, and his dream of using Christopher as his acting boss is dead. Tony took his most important relationship, the one that was meant to protect him, and he destroyed it, for no other reason than his emotional carelessness.
All those memories are for what? All I am to him is some asshole bully.
There is a common theme with all of these interactions. Tony allows his emotions to get the better of him. He takes what could have been a positive and productive relationship and instead turns them negative through insults, grievances, and his inability to control himself. He can't stop causing pain to the people around him, and that breeds resentment instead of loyalty. At the end of the series, almost everyone has turned against Tony. Carlo is flipped, Christopher brought up the possibility of ratting Tony out, and there's theories that Paulie and Patsy might be the ones behind Tony getting whacked as well. Lord knows Patsy has his own grievances with Tony himself.
How about Patsy? He's had issues. Maybe he's holding a grudge.
A good leader should unite people behind him, but Tony pushes people away. I talked about this in my Johnny Sack video, but power isolates people. The pressures of the job aided Tony, and instead of rising above it, he let the stress increase his toxic tendencies. And that is why, in my humble opinion, Tony Soprano was not a good boss.
He's got the world by the balls, and he acts like everything's a big fucking imposition.
Being at the top, he's isolated himself.
Yeah, it's just him and his money.